and welcome. Today we are going to build a daily planner. This project is for everyone, whether you are new to Angular or not. We are going to start from the very basics of Angular, and then we look at routing in Angular app, route protection. We look at how we can handle user input using both the reactive and template-driven approach. We are going to implement form validation. We are going to look at how we can create our own custom pipes. We look at services in Angular, and this project is going to give you an in-depth insight on Angular material and how to properly use it in your application. And then we are going to deploy and add this project to our portfolio. So first, let me walk you through the finished project. So we have this sign up page where you can either sign up if you don't have an account, or you log in if you already have an account. So here we enter our password and we have validation on all the inputs, because here our password must be at least 8 characters. So you can pick a date which is based on the requirements of this application, and then you can sign up. Once you are logged in, you have access to this planner and my task. So we see how we can do this. And on the planner, you can decide to either add a task. For instance, maybe today, I don't feel like doing anything. I just want to play. So you can add to play and just add a short description of what you want to do. And you add this task. So when you move down, you see this is the added task. So you can fill in everything you want to do, and you can decide to start any of these tasks. For example, I want to read. I can start this. And this is going to keep track, and you see the progress based on the time you have to complete this task. So you can either complete this task or you decide to cancel this task. So when you cancel this task, you are back to this page. You can decide to start another task. Maybe you want to visit your grandma, and when you start this, you see this is faster because you have shorter time for that. You can start another task again, and you can cancel this task. So on this particular past task, you are going to see a list of all your tasks, whether you've completed them or you cancelled the task. So you see the finished and the cancelled. In this project, we are also going to implement sorting in Angular. So we can sort by ID, we can sort by time, we can sort by the task name, and you can also filter. So if I filter just to read, you have read. If I filter grammar, I have this. So we also have pagination. So this project is going to cover a lot, guys. Without further ado, let's get started. Now, let's look at what we need in order to follow up with this project. First, we need Node.js on our system. So if you don't have Node.js on your PC, you can simply come to nodejs.org. And here you can download and install Node.js on your PC. We need a web browser. I'll be using Chrome, which I also recommend. We also need a code editor. For this project, I'll be using Visual Studio Code. Feel free to use any code editor of your choice. But if you want to use Visual Studio Code, you can simply type download Visual Studio Code, and then you can just download and install Visual Studio Code on your PC. Now let's look at how we can create a new Angular project. So to create a new Angular project, you can simply come to angular.io And here you can click on Setup, and then you scroll down and you see this command. If you are new to Angular, you can simply run this command. You open your terminal and run this command. And this is simply to install the Angular CLI globally on your machine. But if this is not your first time using Angular and you already have the CLI installed globally on your machine, you don't need to run this first command. All you need to do is to run ng new and then your project name, which is to create a new project, a new Angular project for you. So now I'm going to open my terminal. And on my terminal, I already have the Angular CLI installed globally on my machine. Again, if you are new to Angular, simply open your terminal and run this first command. But if you are not new to Angular, you just have to run this second one. Alright, so now I am on my desktop. And on my desktop, I will simply create a new folder for this project. And I'm going to name it Angular Project. You can call this any name you want. So now I can open my terminal. And on my terminal, I can type cd space and drag and drop this folder. You can also create this folder directly from your terminal. And you can create this folder on any path on your PC, but I want it on my desktop. Now on the terminal, remember, if this is your first time working with Angular, you just have to grab this and now you can run this command. You grab this and paste. But I already have the CLI installed globally on my PC. All I need to do is to run ng new and the project name, which I'm going to call Daily Planner, and I will hit enter. So this is a question on whether we want to add routing. Of course, our project requires routing, but I'm going to pick no so that we do this manually in order to help us understand routing in Angular. So this will help us understand routing properly. We do it manually. Here I'm going to select SCSS. Feel free to choose CSS if you want. And this is going to install all the packages we need in order to work with this project. This might take some minutes. I think it's a good time to grab a cup of tea. Welcome back. Now you see packages installed successfully. So if you have this, that means that the project, our application, have been created. So now we can open this application. Remember, we created a folder on our desktop, which is the Angular project. So, and we created a new project, which we named Daily Planner. So it is very important to navigate into this particular folder. So you can cd into Daily Planner. And now I am on the right directory. So now, if you are on Windows or Mac, we can simply open this folder on our text editor by simply typing code and then space dot and you hit enter. This is going to open this project on our text editor. You can also open this project by simply, you come to this place. If you're on Windows, you can simply right click on this folder and you will see the option to open with your text editor. Alright, so this is the project created for us. The code editor, I can simply go to terminal and open new terminal. And on the new terminal, you see that I am in the right directory. I am in the right path. This is very important. Here, let's simply run this project by typing ng save. The development server is running on localhost port 4200, which is the default port for Angular project. So you can go to your browser now And on the browser, you can simply type localhost 4200. So this is the default page. This is the project curated for us. All right. The next thing we need to do is to add Angular material to this project. But before we do that, let's go to our template, which is, we have our SRC, we have our app, which is a component, and the app component has its own template, which is exactly what we see currently on this page. We can remove everything here and we save it. And you see that this page is currently empty. Let's add H1 for now. Let's say hello. And we have this. So now let's go and add Angular material to our project. To add Angular material to your project, you simply go to material.angular.io, and on this page you see Get Started. When you click on Get Started, you see this simple command, which is to add Angular material to our project. So you can either type this or you simply copy it. And now let's come back to the terminal. We can, for now, let's quit this and let's clear this. And we can simply run this command. And you type Y, which is yes. Let's choose the default theme, which is the indigo pink. You hit and you enter Y, which is yes. You hit enter. And this is going to install all the packages. So now packages installed successfully. Now we have Angular material added to our project. If you go to the page, you are going to see that there is a change. And now let's refresh this page. You see, Angular material is already added to our project. So the next thing we need to do now is to create all the components we need for this project. Currently, we only have our app component, and we cannot do everything inside this app component. So we need to create some other components. So let's look at this sketch. Don't mind my sketch, but okay. So on this sketch, this main path, this main one is the app component. So the app component is going to host all other components in this application. So we have this particular button, which is going to toggle our side nav. So our app is going to contain like a toolbar and also a side nav. And we have many other components. So let's create all these components one after the other. All right. To create a component in Angular, we can either do this manually by coming to this place and create a new folder. But since we have much components, we can simply generate these using the CLI. So for now, let's quit this and clear this. So to create a component, you simply type ng generate. Either you type this completely or you just use generate, which is G, component C. And for this, we are going to create all the components inside components folder. So this is just a folder, and this folder is going to host, first we have this login and logout. So let's group both login and logout. All right. So the next one, after sign up, we also need login. We don't need logout. We only need sign up and login. Good. So if you look at this app now, we have another folder, which is the components. And in here, we should see login and sign up. Good. So the next one is to create this planner. This planner is a component on its own, but it's going to be a component hosting other components. So let's also do the same thing, ng-gc component, but now is going to be slide and hit enter. So now we have this daily planner. Good. Now inside this daily planner, we are going to So we want this particular task to be inside this planner. So that means inside the daily planner here, we are going to add tasks and hit enter. So if you go to the daily planner, you now have another component which is named task. Good. Still inside the daily planner, not the task, we are going to add another component which is the current task. So let's come here and add current task. So let's clear this. Inside the daily planner, we add start task and we hit enter. And the next thing to add is the past task. So here, and now we hit enter. And I think this is all for now. Let's look at this very well. So in the app component, we are going to have this toolbar and we're also going to have another sidebar here. So I think it is wise to split the component. So we are going to create a component for our nav and another component for the side. Just create this inside header folder. So now let's come to this place. For now, let's simply clear this. So here we are still going to run the same command, but not in the daily planner. So in this component, we already have auth. So now let's create a folder and we are going to call it header. And in this folder, we are going to create a navigation component. So navigation, we want to make this project as clear and simple as possible. So let's separate everything and make them simpler. So here, let's hit enter. So now we have this folder containing our navigation component. So now let's add one more component, which is going to be the last one. And this is going to be the side nav. The side nav, perfect. We are done with this. Let's clear this for now. And I think we can start our project by simply running ng save. All right, so the next thing we want to do is actually to create the routing. So let's add routing, because when you click on this planner, we want to be able to see the planner on the URL. If you click on login, we want to see login. So let's do this next. Great. Here we are on this page. And now to add routing to our project on the app folder, which is this is the app folder. We are going to add a file, not a folder, but a file, and we are going to call this app routing. Remember when we were creating this project, there was a question on whether we want to add routing. If you've hit yes, you are going to have this particular file we're about to create. So let's do this manually and understand how this works. So app routing.module is a module and .ts. And a module is simply a class. So let's export a class. And we are going to follow the naming convention. Let's come back to this particular app module. Here we export a class and the name is app module. This is very important because we have to follow the standard, the Angular standard. So here it is app module. So here it is going to be app routing module. So we are going to follow the same and routing and module. So now we export this class, and to make this class a module, we need to add a decorator, which is imported from @Angular core. So here we pass in an object. Here we are going to add our imports, and this is going to be an array. And also we are going to export, which is the same thing. So to handle this routing, first let's create a variable, and we are going to name this our route, and this is of type route. which is imported from Angular router. And this is equal to an array. So this is going to be an array containing all our routes. So here we are going to pass an object. And in this object, first we need to add the path. So the path, for example, we have a sign up component. So we want a path to the sign up page. And we need to specify which component to be loaded for this particular path. So in this case, it should be simply the sign up component, you see, which is going to be imported for us. But if this is not done for you, make sure you import this from, so we are on this particular path, which is the root part. We are inside this app. So inside this app, you see that components and this app, so it is the same level. So you have your app routing, same level. That is why we have just dots. Then we go to components, we go to auth until where we get the sign up dot component. So the next thing we are going to add is also another path. And we want this to go to our login. And the same thing, we here bring in the login component. We also need another path. And this is going to go to our daily planner. So let's call it daily planner. And which component to load? This should load the main planner component, the daily planner component, which is this particular component, this main component, daily planner component. So let's save this. There is one more path. Let's add one more path. And let's make this an empty path. So let's redirect the user back to the sign up page. And here we need to add the path match. And we make it full. Remember to add a comma here. And now we can save this. So now we have our route. So here now we need to bring in the router module, which is imported from Angular router. And here we add dot for root. And we need to pass in our route, which is this particular route. This particular route, that is what we passed in here. Now we have this route available in this particular module. To make this route available outside this class, we need to export it. It is very important. So here we export just the router module and you save this file. Now let's go to our app module, and under import, we simply add a comma, and here we are going to import our app routing module and save this file. Good. Now, if you go to the page and maybe you do /login, you are not going to see anything because we are not done. So now we need to tell Angular. So we go to the app components, the app templates, and in here we simply add router outlet. And when you save this now, you see login works. So now if I go to an empty path, I see sign up works. Now everything is working correctly and routing is done for now. We are going to come back to this later. Good. So the next thing we are going to do now is just to jump straight to the project. So let's go back to this sketch. Here we see in the app, actually, even before we drop the router outlet, we need to add a navigation. We need to add a toolbar because every page is going to have this toolbar and is going to have a side nav. So that means there are some other things we need to add on this particular page. How do we use navigation? How do we use toolbar using Angular material? let's go back to the documentation. And here you can just scroll down, you go to components, and under components, you go to side nav, for instance, click on view code, and here you see to use the side nav, you need a side nav container containing the side nav itself and the side nav content. All right, guys, let's go straight and see how we can do this. So in here, before adding this router outlet, we need to add something here, which is the mat. So the mat side nav, and now we get this particular error, which is telling us that mat side nav container is not a non-element. In order to use any components from Angular material, we need to import each of the module. So for instance, if you go to your TS here, you see to use the mat side nav, you need to import the mat side nav module. So you can simply go to your app, which is here, the app module, and under the imports, we can now import. You can import mat side nav here, but I'm not going to be doing this way because we are going to be using lots of these components, and by the time we import everything on this app module, we are going to have many lines of code here, which I think is not the best. So to work with this Angular material and actually do away with this error, let's create another module. So here in the app, we can simply add another module we call app material.module.ts. And remember, every module is simply a class. So here we export a class following the same naming convention. This is going to be app material module. As simple as this. And remember, to make this a module, you need to add a decorator. So here, let's bring in the ng module. In here, we simply need to add imports, just like what we did for the routing. Remember, we added this imports, which is an array containing all our imports. Also, we have to add our exports, which is also an array containing all the files we are going to be exporting from this particular module. So in here now, we can now import. So if you go back here, you see you import mat side nav module. So we are going to import from its Angular material / side nav. It's as simple as this. And in here, we can now bring in the mat side nav module. Very important. Everything we are going to be importing here is going to be a module. So in the import and in the export, which if you're Mac, you can simply press option and you can add this mat side nav module to both your export and your import. So now we save this, and when you go to the template now, we should not see this error, but we are still seeing this error because we are missing another step, which is very important. Remember, when we configured the routing, we exported this file and we added it to the app module. So in the app module, under the imports, just the same way we added app routing, here we need to add the app material, which is this, the app material module. And now let's save this and go back to the template. You see that the error is gone. Good. In the mat side nav container, we now have the mat side nav, and also we have the mat side nav content. So you have the mat side nav content. Good. Inside this mat side nav content, very important, that is where we are going to put our router outlet. This is because we want every component to have the navigation and also the side nav. So now we save this and go back to this page. Here we are on this page. You see our daily planner works, but we do not see the side nav. This is because the side nav is closed by default. So to open the side nav, you simply need to add open here, opened, and you remove this, you save this, and we can see the side nav here. Good. The side nav and the toolbar have to be in all the pages, and that is why in here for the side nav we are going to bring in the app side nav, and in here before the router outlet simply bring the app navigation. And we have access to this without any error, because when you go to the app model here, you see that the side navigation, the side nav and the navigation component is being imported for us automatically by Angular. And this is done whenever you generate a component using the CLI. So if we have created this component manually, we must add it to the declaration array. This is very important to note. So let's go back to the template, and now we have the side nav and we have the app navigation. If you go back to this page, you should already see side nav, and here is our math toolbar. Great. So the next thing we want to do now, let's just remove this opened and let's close this side nav by default. But we need a reference to this side nav. So let's add a local reference to this side nav. So the goal is in the app navigation, we are going to add our math toolbar. And there we are going to add this button, this particular button. When a user clicks on this button, it should open the side nav. So that is what we are going to do. Now let's go to the app navigation, and in here let's put our math toolbar, which we have to import. So you simply go to the material, the app material, which is this, the app material module, and here it is very important to import. So now we are going to import from at Angular material / toolbar, as simple as that. And in here we bring in the math toolbar module. Very important, not just the math toolbar, but the module itself. And we also need to import the icon, because we are going to be using the icon on that page. So let's also import from at Angular material / icon. And here, as you know, it should be the math icon model. And now we need to add the tool to both the import and the export. So here is gonna be the math toolbar module and also the math icon module. Now you can save this file. So let's go back to the navigation. And here in the navigation, we have our math toolbar without any error. So here, let's simply add a color of primary so we can see this better. And let's go back to our page. We should already see something. All right. So now we have this toolbar. So in here, let's add a div, because from the sketch, I like working with a sketch like this. So from the sketch, we have this side and this side. So we are going to have two divs. So the first div, I'm going to give it a class of header start end. And in here, I'm going to add a math icon, which we already imported. So you can add a math icon, and here just put menu. And that should give us this. Great. So now let's just add a link, and in here we just simply write our daily planner, and let's save this. But here we don't need this href. let's add a router link, and this should simply go to /daily, and let's save this. So the second div now should be of header, and in here we are going to, anyways, for this I think we don't need the div. We don't need the div. You can simply use UL, another list, and in here we need a list containing a link, so we can add the anchor tag. We don't need this. Here let's add the planner. Let's simply call it planner. And here for the second one, okay, for now let's add a router link also to go to this daily planner. So it should just go to this daily planner. We can simply copy this, or you can use your shortcuts. Okay, here let's go to my tasks. So that means we need another route. Let's go back to our routes. We don't have a route to the task, so we can simply add another path here. So we add a path, and this should go to tasks, and the component to load should be the task. So we have the task component. Let's save this. Remember to add comma here, and that should be okay. So now here we should go to tasks. The second one here, let's add sign up, and here let's add login. Here should go to login, and here should go to sign up. Now let's save this, and let's add one more, which should go to our logout. For logout, we don't need to add this. We undo this separately very soon. So here we should just put logout, and let's save this. So now we have this. This is not looking good. Let's go to our style sheet. So in here now we have this mat toolbar. The mat toolbar contains the header start and the header end. So we have this div and we have this UL. So we can simply grab the mat toolbar, and here let's give it a display of flex, and let's save this. So now let's give it a width of 100%, so that now we can justify the content to be spaced between. So we have this here and this here. In your global style sheet, add this particular style. So I just added our a link, set the text decoration to none. I added this to the global style sheet because for every link we have in the application, we obviously do not want the text decoration. So, and you can also change this in your file. All right, so let's go back to this, and now we can grab the first part, which is the header start. I can do this way because I am using SCSS, so this is possible. Here also we can add a display of flex, and here we are working with these two, so we need to align everything to be at the center. So that we use align items to the center, and let's give it a gap just of maybe 0.4 em, which I think should be too much. This is not bad. We can leave that for now. Let's go to the second one, which is the header end, and here also we need to display flex, and let's align items also to the center, and let's give it a gap of maybe here we should give it gap of 0.8 em. And now we have this. This is not looking too bad for now. I think we can continue with the next thing to do. So the next thing we want to do is when a user clicks on this particular menu icon, we want to open the side nav. How do we achieve this? Because this is our navigation, which contains this particular toolbar. The navigation, the toolbar lives in another component, which is actually different from the side nav we want to toggle. So let's go back to the main app template. You see here, this is the side nav. This is the side nav we want to toggle. And we have this component which we want to actually be able to toggle this side nav from this component. And both are in the parent component. So this is the parent. In this case now, the parent component is this app component because we're in the app component template. So this app nav is the child component. So all we need to do is to actually emit an event from the child component. So we go back to this template, which this is the TS file. So each template, each component has a template, which is HTML file, the style sheet, the text file, and now the TypeScript file. So in this TypeScript file, we need to do something. First, when a user clicks on this math icon, so let's listen to a click event, and here we can just say on toggle side nav, because that is exactly what we want to do. We want to be able to open and close this side nav. So let's grab this particular expression, and that is going to break because we don't have it yet here. So here I'm going to add a public method, and when you save this, your project should be back. And now we want to do something. So we want to emit an event from the child component to, so we are going outside and we need to use this output. So we need to use this particular output decorator. So let's do this, and now let's call it toggle side, and this is going to be equal to a new event emitter which must be imported from @Angular core. This event emitter takes a generic type. So in this case, we are not emitting anything, so we are going to put void. So now in here, we need to grab this. So if you hover on this, you see this is a property. We call this toggle, which is this, because to have access to this particular property within the same class in a method, we need to use the this keyword. So here we put .emit. It is as simple as this. What have we done here? Let's move this down. This particular method, remember here we added a click listener, a click event, and we added this expression, which is a method in our TypeScript file. So when a user click on this, we want to emit an event to the parent component, which is here. We can grab this and now go to the parent component, which is hosting this app navigation. Now we can listen to our own custom event. And what do we want to do? In here, you can add an expression which you are going to add as a method in the TS file. But already here, we have a reference to the side nav. So it is as simple as getting this reference, and then we are going to call the toggle method, which is on this particular side nav. Good. Now, when you go to the page and click on this button, now you see we can now toggle this side nav. Let's go back to the navigation. Let's go to the template and add the style to this math icon. So let's grab the math icon and simply change the cursor so that now we have this. Okay. So let's go back to the main template, which is the app template, And let's grab this particular mat side nav container, because if you look at this, we don't have the full width and we don't have the full height. So here, let's grab this and we are going to give it a width of 100 viewport width, and let's give it a height of 100 viewport height. And when you go here now, we have this. Let's also increase the width of the mat side nav. So we can grab the mat side nav, and for the mat side nav, let's simply give it a width of maybe 30%. And that should be okay for now. Very good. So now if you click on this, you see task work. If you go to sign up, you can go to login. So now the next thing we are going to do is to undo the side nav. We are done with this navigation for now. Let's go to the side nav. So for this side nav, let's remove this, and instead of this, let's add the mat nav list. And you already know the solution to this. To use the mat nav list, we need to add the model. So we can go to our app material, and in here we need to import. Here we need to import the mat list model, which we have to add to both the export, the import, and the export. So this should be the mat list model, and you can save this file. So let's go back to the side nav, and this error is gone. So let's give it a role in order to help screen readers. So let's put a role of list, and in here we can add the mat list item. So first I'm going to add the daily, and here also we can give it a role of, in this case it should just be list item. So a role of list item. And for this we can also add the router link. So the router link here, it should go to the daily planner. So we can copy this and repeat this list item. So we also need this for our task, or you call it my tasks, and this should go to /tasks. And we also need another one. This should go to the sign up, and here it should go to sign up. And finally, let's add another one, which should be login, and this should go to login. We also need one more, the logout, and we don't need router link for this. We are going to undo it separately. So when you save this, and let's see what we have now. So we now have this, which is not looking too bad. But there is a problem. When we click on this particular link, we can't close the side nav. So let's see how we can do that. So when we click on this, we want to go to the daily planner and then close the side nav. So let's see what we can do. So on each of these items, so for this one, I'm going to add a click listener. So here we can add a click event, and here we can just say on maybe close side nav, and we are going to add this particular method to all the items we have here. So here we can, no, let's just save our time. We can grab this and we can add it here. We can add it and also to the logout. When you save this, this should break because we don't have this particular method in the TS file. So you must, once you add an expression like this in your template, it is very important to go to the TS file and you have to add it as a method. So here we have our public, we have this, and just by doing this and save it now, you see the error is gone. What do we want to do? It is also the same thing we did in the navigation. Remember, both the navigation and the side nav are components on their own, and they live here in the main app component. So the app component is the parent component for the two. So if we want to do something in such a way that when we click anything in this particular template, in this particular component, we want to click, whenever we click on each of these items, we want to close this side nav, which lives in the parent component, this side nav. So we need to emit an event. So we do the same thing here. We bring in the output because we are emitting event outside. So here we can just say close side nav because that is exactly what we want to do. So close side nav. And this, as you know by now, should be equal to a new event emitter, which should be coming from at Angular core. And here also the type we are going to pass void, because here we want to call close side nav and we want to emit an event. So we save this. When you go back to the app now, here we can now listen to this particular custom event. So this is our own custom event. So on any component hosting this particular side nav component, that component actually have access to this. So for now, only the app component for now is hosting that. So here in this particular app side nav, we can now listen to our own custom events. And what do we want to do? We already have access to the navigation. So we can simply use the reference to the navigation and we can simply call the close method and save this. And I think this should be all we need. When we click on any of these now, you see we can close this. So we are done with adding the toolbar and adding our navigation. I hope you understand this part, guys. So we completed this part and we completed this part. If you have any question on this part, please, especially if you are new to Angular, I might be too fast, just slow down the video. If I am too slow, just fast forward it. If there is anything to improve on, please just drop your message. If you have a question, I am completely ready, because the goal of this project is actually to make the simple parts like emitting an event from child component to parent component, or sending some properties from parent component to child component. These things can be sometimes confusing, especially when you are getting started with Angular. So we completed the first part of this project. I'm going to see you in a few minutes.